Hey, what's up, everybody? We're here at the Cigar Code Live. This is the Fryar Place where the conversation of fire. I'm Irving Fryer, your host. We have a great show for you today. We're normally here at the Code Live with live guests, live audience on the first Friday of every month, but we're doing this on the third Friday of the month just because we've had some issues. But we're here and we're live. We're going to have a great time tonight. Got a great audience, got a great guest. It's just going to be some talk about the Eagles, which those of you who are Eagles fans, we're stressing right now, but it's all right. We'll have a remedy hopefully for you tonight. But before we get into the show, we got to pay some bills. So we'll be right back right after this.
Are you planning a special trip or a night out? Don't bother with the hassle of driving, parking, and traffic. Just call Ed's Smooth Transport. One-way or round trips available. We will take you there. And we will also pick you up. Enjoy a night on the town with Ed's Smooth Transport. Call us 609-471-2653 or 609-314-6619. Visit our website to take advantage of our monthly specials at www.smooftransport.com. Ed's Smooth Transport, where experience meets comfort.
In Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, there's a slightly slower pace of living. That's also where you'll find the home of Stoltz Fish Structures, where quality, integrity, and world-class customer service are more than just a way to do business. It's a way of life. From our humble beginning over 40 years ago in a small building, to the modern 65,000 square foot facility of today, we've remained at the forefront of our industry. Everything from gazebos and sheds to garages and pergolas, and everything in between.
One.
All right, we are back. We're ready to get the show underway. I'm excited about our guest today. Been trying to get him on here for some time now. He finally has been available. He said yes, and he is here. Listen, he's a guy who pulls no punches. He's known for telling it like it is. He's one of the Eagles' greats. 8th round draft choice, 1986, with the Eagles from UTEP. That's University of Texas, El Paso is what it is. Yeah. 13 years in the NFL, Eagles, Cardinals, Packers, and the Broncos. 3-time Pro Bowler, Eagles Hall of Famer. Played in Super Bowl 32 with the Packers. Then the next year, he won Super Bowl 33 with the Broncos. That happened to be his last game of his career. 1,123 solo tackles, 52 sacks, 26 forced fumbles, 24 INTs, that's interceptions, 5 defensive TDs. I sure would have liked to have seen him running the ball. Yeah. He's the current host of several shows, pre and post game analysis of the Eagles here in Philadelphia. Y'all put your hands together for my man, my friend, not my co-host, but my guest today, Seth Joyner. Come on, put your hands together. Good to see you, bro. Good to see you. Good to see you. Good to see you. Listen, I was putting my notes together. First of all, thanks for being here.
My pleasure.
I've been trying to get you here, and things just didn't seem to work out. And I was telling you earlier, and I don't mind saying this, people don't really mess with me right now because of my conviction and my incarceration. But you're one of the people in my life who have never changed on me. So I appreciate people, and I just want to say that to everybody who's watching right now. This is the guy who's an honorable man, a friend that sticks closer than brother. He's here today, and I appreciate that. First, before we get to the Eagles, if you know that you are an in-depth guy, you do great analysis of the Eagles, second to none, in my opinion, and we're going to talk about the Eagles today. But first, I want to talk about your career. I want to talk about you first. Yeah. I want to talk about you first. You were drafted in the 8th round by the Eagles, 1986, out of UTEP, University of Texas, El Paso. Many of you may not know where that is, but great school. Obviously, you produced great athletes. But coming into the league that year, you got released. You got cut. People don't know about this. You got cut in training camp. They brought you back during the season, But talk about that. What was that experience like for you? I mean, you're a guy, a man, an athlete who is serious about what he's doing. I'm assuming you've always been like that. And to come in the eighth round and then to be let go during training camp, there had to have been some thoughts going through your mind, a plan maybe that you had put in action that you were going to in terms of your response to them letting you go. But then the Eagles brought you back. Talk about that experience.
Oh, you know, in hindsight now, you know, looking back, it's probably the best thing that ever happened to me because it changed my mindset, it changed my perspective, it changed everything. To spend those 2 weeks, the first 2 weeks of that season, at home on my mom's couch, sulking and licking my wounds and whatnot, it brings about perspective. Buddy told me that he was going to bring me back. You know, if you remember that year, we drafted Keith Byers in the first round.
Right.
And we had a running back, a really good running back named Ernest Jackson at the time. And the Eagles were trying to trade him. But everybody in the league knew that Buddy was going to start Keith. So they really wasn't offering anything. So 1 week turned into 2. After the second week, they lost to the Bears. The first game, they had the Bears coming off of Buddy's Super Bowl win in '85. So '86, the Bears were the first game. Then, you know, the aforementioned, you know, Redskins, they played the Redskins the following week. Both of those games were national games, and I watched both of those games on TV in New York. And so after that Tuesday, that following Tuesday after the Redskins game, I drove down to Philly. And I walked into Buddy's office. I was like,
wait a minute.
Yeah.
Did you walk into Buddy's office swole? Or were you walking in home?
I went in, I said, Coach, I know you're a man of your word. You said you were gonna bring me back. Right. I said, but I'm going crazy here, you know. I'm sitting around doing nothing. I gotta do something, you know. So if you're not gonna bring me back, I'm going back to El Paso, Monrovia School, start working, you know, trying to finish up my degree.
Okay.
And by the time I drove from New York back to Philly, he had called my mom and told my mom, tell him to have his ass back here tomorrow morning.
Right. Did he say it like that?
Just like
Did
that.
your mama say it like that?
Just like that. You know. So I turned around and came back. And, you know, the first 5-6 weeks, I wound up playing special teams primarily. That's kind of how I made my name. I knew that, you know, it was going to be hard to make the roster. We had drafted 3 other linebackers that year. I think the 3rd round, 2nd round, 3rd round, and 5th round. And then they drafted me in the 8th round. So I knew I was going to make the team was going to be on special teams. You know, so throughout training camp preseason, you know, I was just tearing it up on special teams. So I came back. I played special teams the first 5 or 6 weeks, and then I came in one Wednesday morning, and the linebacker coach said, "Hey, coach wants to see you over in his office." I'm like, "Damn, here we go again."
We getting out of here.
They about to get me up out of
He
here.
didn't say bring your playbook though.
No, he didn't. But
Yeah.
you know what? Just the fact that he said, "Coach want to see you,"
Right.
I wasn't even thinking about that.
Right.
You know. So I walk in. He looks at me. He goes, "Study your stuff." You know, he ain't say it like that. He said, "Study your stuff. I'm starting you this week, not because I want to, but because I have to. Now get out my office."
That was Buddy Ryan?
That's what he said.
Wow.
And
And the
so
rest is history.
I started that week.
Yeah.
I was never not started after that ever again.
That's awesome, man. See, y'all didn't know that about Seth. I think that he just came in here just, you know, tearing it up right from the beginning. He had to pay his dues as well, as we all do. 1991. So now you're starting, like you said. Once you started, you never stopped as a starter. You never got demoted. You proved yourself, and you're playing for the Eagles. 1991, Monday Night Football against the Houston Oilers. You had a 102 temperature. This is just the epitome of who you are in my mind. That night, with 102 temperature, he's playing on Monday Night Football against the Houston Oilers, who were good at the time. 8 solo tackles, 2 forced fumbles, 2 fumble recoveries, and 2 sacks. All in one game with a 102 temperature.
And I dropped the interception.
You dropped an interception? Well, I didn't
Last
have
play.
that in the stats. You didn't have that in the stats. They don't put dropped interceptions in the stats. You were named that year NFL Player of the Year by Paul Zimmerman, Sports Illustrated, and you were number 2. You wrote number 2, runner-up player of the year, defensive player of the year that year. Talk about that kind of I don't see that today.
Yeah.
in God. I can envision that in you, just knowing you over the years. Talk about that day and your commitment to the game, your commitment to the team, your commitment to being excellent, and how you were able to overcome playing with a 102 temperature. Because I played games where I was sick as well. I caught balls, come to the sidelines, and threw up, and went back in the game and had a good game. Talk about that kind of mentality.
Well, it was a huge game because, coming into that game, the Houston Oilers were the number one ranked offense in the National Football League. And I think Warren Moon had something like 10 100-yard passing games in a row. And they were like the top offense in the league. We came in ranked the number one defense in the league across the board in just about every statistical category. And the boot, it was a Monday night football game. So when I got up Monday morning, man, I was a mess. I woke up with chills, just sweating. The trainers came in, as we got closer to the game, they was thinking about deactivating me. And I was like, don't you dare. I said, I'm playing in this game tonight. I'm like, some way, somehow, I'm going to figure out how to get through this game, So the game started, and mentally, when you sick like that, you got to get yourself in the right place.
But you focus more
yeah.
when you're sick or when you have some kind of injury.
Yeah.
That causes you to focus more.
Well, listen, I knew that my energy was going to be low. And I knew that I had to perform. The play lasts anywhere between 5 and 8 seconds. And I'm like, I can do anything for 5 or 8 seconds and catch my breath and get up and do the next thing. So I told, Byron was calling the players. I'm like, listen, man, there's going to be times where I'm not even going to get back to the huddle. So if I run downfield, and I'm just going to take a knee and get my breath. And when I come back, just tell me what the defense is. And I'll just line up and play the next play. And that was my mindset the entire game. But to your point, how your mind works is, listen, the hay was already in the barn. I'd already prepped and did all the work. I was ready to go. I knew what they were going to do. I just, from a preparation standpoint, I was good, But what I realized is I was in the zone that night and really didn't know it. And really what happens when you're in the zone is that everything, all the thinking goes out the window. And everything that you do is just, to try to find the best way to explain it, everything's just on natural. My reads, long keys, everything that I was looking for, everything that I was, everything I was seeing was exactly how it was supposed to be, and there was no thinking. Sometimes, you get in the game and, you start thinking, especially on defense. Y'all know where y'all going.
Right.
You know the snap count. You know the play.
Right.
You know what you're trying to accomplish.
Right.
We got to decipher everything that's going on. And one false step, one false move, and you're out of the play.
Right.
And it can be a big play.
Right.
So everything was just like cued in. All my keys were perfect. And I wasn't thinking about nothing but just, okay, go all out. And wherever you're on the field, take a knee and rest. Go all out. Wherever you're on the field, take a knee and take a rest. Come back and get the call. Wow. And that's the way I played the entire game.
Wow, that sounds like life to me.
Yeah.
When you're kind of out of it,
Yeah.
things aren't going your way, or you don't feel like it. That's what you got to do. When the lights come on, you got to go.
Really,
speed. You got to
really,
hit it as hard as you can.
Really,
take a rest when you need, and then keep going.
Really, that's the best way that's the best way to do anything. Because if you're prepared.
Right.
Most of the issue with football, when I'm watching players today, and the thing that irks me about players today is their lack of preparation. Like there are times in games, where I'm calling out plays, and the offense is looking at me like, "How do you know that?" Because I watched film, I studied the game plan, I looked at your tendencies, I know what you do, I know where you're on the field, I know what the down and distance is. When you come out and you give me a formation, I'm in my mind, I'm scanning all of my work that I've done.
Right.
And in 1st and 10 or 2nd and 5, I know what you like to run out of that formation. So I'm not guessing, but I'm anticipating. And for defensive players, that's what allows you to make plays is your ability to anticipate what your opponent is doing, opposed to in the moment, let me try to figure it out because
it's too late.
It's too late. By the time they snap the ball, everybody's going 100 miles an hour, and you standing there thinking, trying to figure it out. It's too late. They right by.
Yeah. You talked about the defense that you played with at that time versus the Houston Oilers. I mean, the guys that you played with, Clyde Simmons and the Jerome Browns, God rest his soul, Eric Allen, and Reggie White. Reggie White, you guys were a handful. I got an opportunity to play with you just briefly. I was in New England. And I came here in Philadelphia. Y'all handled us pretty well. But you had an opportunity to play with guys like that. Talk to everybody because not a lot of people know about Reggie White. They know he's considered to be one of the best, if not the best, defensive lineman to ever play the game. I graduated, but I was drafted in the same class as Reggie White. We came out at the same time. Reggie threatened me. You know, Reggie threatened me. He said, "Urban, if you don't give your life to the Lord, I'm gonna whoop your behind." That's what Reggie told me.
That sounds like
yeah, he told me that, and I was like, "Oh, okay, Reggie." But talk about what it was like to play behind a guy like Reggie White.
Well, I played next to him. I played 13 years. I played with him right next to him. 7 out of my 13 years. 6 years here, maybe 7 years here potentially. 7 years here, and then 1 year in Green Bay. And you know, God knows what He's doing when He gives certain people certain skill sets. Because Reggie was a dominant player, but Reggie was a big kid.
Yeah.
Like
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
like if God would have given me those kind of skills, or I'd have been destroying people with my mindset.
That's
you know
what I'm
saying.
saying. Give me those kind of skills. Because
you
would have abused me.
I would have been hurting people with that kind of with those kind of skills, man. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
Right.
Reggie was 6'5", 295 pounds.
Awesome.
Could run darn near as fast as I could, as strong as an ox, quick, you know, but didn't have a mean bone in his body, to be honest with you. Like when he wanted to sack a quarterback, you couldn't stop him. You could stand 2, 3, you know, but then there were times where, you know, he just kind of go through the motions, you know, but he was just such a dominant player. We had dominant players across the board. Like Jerome, you couldn't handle him.
Right.
You know, Clyde, you know, was great in his own right. You had Reggie on one side, Clyde on the other side. Then you had the combination of Mike Pitts and Mike Golick, you know, playing in the middle next to Jerome. And Jerome would turn to me sometimes, "Hey man, I'm going." I'm like, "Where you going? Where?" You know,
I'm going to get the quarterback.
But I knew what he was saying.
Right.
Because 9 times out of 10, if he told me something like that, he made a play.
Right.
You know.
Right.
But when he was telling me, okay, I know I'm responsible for this gap, and you're responsible for that gap. But I'm gonna take your gap.
Right.
So slide over a step, because I'm gonna take your gap, you take mine. You know. But every time he do it, man, so the offense will be anticipating him by alignment to take B gap, and he would jump in the A gap and shoot in the backfield, and make a play, you know, for a loss. You know, and I learned how to just, okay, do your thing, man. And I got your back.
And you all had that kind of freedom on the Buddy Ryan?
Yeah, we did, because, I mean, once we got to a place, now it took us 2 years to figure out the 46 defense. It really took me 2 years to learn, because I was never the guy that says, okay, I'm going to learn my position. Right. The only way I could learn it is I had to learn everybody's position, because I'm a visual learner. So what I did was I drew defenses up against offenses, and in the process of drawing it all up, I learned what the DBs were supposed to do, the linemen were supposed to do, the linebackers. So at every play, whether it's a run play, a pass play, a man coverage, a blitz, a zone, I can tell you what every single play on the field, on my side of the ball, where they were supposed to be and what their responsibilities were, because that's just the way I learned the defense.
Yeah, and that's awesome, because we learn different ways. When I came into the league, I learned my position, and that was it. Then over time, I was able to learn what everybody else was doing. But we all grasp it, we gather it, we interpret it different ways.
Well,
that leads to why you're such a great analysis of the game today.
One thing it did, it allowed me to understand the weakness and the strengths of the defenses that we rank. Because, you know, obviously there's 11 guys on the field. It's not balanced up, so there's always strong points and there's always weak points.
Yeah.
So in certain situations, I understood where I had to play it by the letter, and I understood where I could take risks and take chances, because I had help, I had backup in those areas. You know, I was the type of guy, man. I watched film. You know, I didn't like watching film at the facility.
I hated it too.
Well, I mean, I love watching film. I just didn't like watching film with the defense. I didn't like watching film, you know, in the linebacker room.
Okay.
Because, you know, those guys are just watching film. You know, like, oh, look at so and so. He just got.
They're trying to stay awake.
Well, it was really a situation, Herb, where, you know, they were watching film for entertainment value.
Right.
And I was trying to watch film for what I could get out of it.
Mhm.
You know, so I spent a lot of time at the facility. Like, we'd be done at 4 o'clock. I wouldn't leave the facility at 7, 8 o'clock at night sometimes because I was in there watching cut-ups and watching film and taking notes. That I had to do that.
Mhm.
You know, I was a good athlete, but I wasn't a great athlete in my own eyes. So I needed as much information as I could get to help put me in position to make plays and to do my job. So I understood the importance of preparation, big time.
Did you take film home? Because that was during a time when we had the reel to reel. Did you have a reel?
No, we had.
I had a reel to reel projector that I took from that I had at home and would bring reel to reels at home and watch.
Yeah, so we had the beta tapes and the VHS tape.
Oh, we ain't had none of that. When I first came to school, they ain't had that. We had reel to reel.
So we had the beta.
Making that noise.
We had the beta at the facility, and Mike Doherty. Remember the film guy?
Yes,
Mike he would create the cut-ups and all the VHS that I could take home. So I would leave the facility at 7:30, sometimes 8, depending on, you know, if I got my work done. I go home and eat, spend some time with my family, and when everything quieted down from like 10:30 to 11:30, I watch film at home again.
Wow. What is it about your career? If you can name something, and I'm sure if you think about this from time to time, I still have dreams about football, and that stuff just doesn't go away.
No.
What is it about your career that you're most proud of?
That, you know, this 12-year-old boy wrote an essay one day that when I grow up, I'm gonna be a professional football player and buy my mom a new house and a new car. Okay. And that the Lord put that in me, and that, you know, He put also in me the drive to make it happen, even in situations and times where it didn't look like it was possible. Like, I was 195 pounds coming out of high school. I played fullback, I played linebacker, I played tailback, I played tight end, I played defensive end. I played a little bit of everything. And I grew up in New York, born and raised in New York. So New York was back then was a basketball state. Like, nobody was recruiting football players out of the state of New York.
Right.
You know, so I wasn't heavily recruited. I had a bunch of prep schools, a bunch of, you know, JUCOs, you know, that were recruiting me, and I had a JUCO coach in Westchester, New York, that was recruiting me. And he got the assistant head coach and the offensive line job at Utah. So he calls me. He was like, "Hey, we don't have any scholarships left. Okay, but if you come down here, you're gonna get a chance to play. We building something, and you're gonna get a chance to, you know, to work for a scholarship." He said, "We'll help you take care of all your costs, you know, through Pell Grants and financial aid and all that kind of stuff." He said, "But you're gonna get a legitimate." So I went down there, 195 pounds. I started 6 games my freshman year, and I went from 195 to 215 by the end of spring ball. Right after the spring ball, I went for a scholarship.
Wow. So y'all didn't know. Y'all should thank me right now because you didn't know any of this about this man right here. You just know that he tells it like it is and he gives us analysis about the Eagles, but you didn't know this about Seth.
You know,
in fact, I didn't know this about you.
You know what it is, though. You know, you asked me what I'm most proud of. I think that there's some people whose road is real easy, and they don't ever really appreciate, you know, the blessings that's bestowed upon them. I relish my road because everything that I've got, everything that I've accomplished, I had to work my behind on to get it. And even when everybody else couldn't see the vision, because you know when you're young and you telling everybody, "Oh, I'm gonna play in the NFL," and they're like, "Oh, yeah, everybody," you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And you know, even family members sometimes, "Oh, you got drafted, but you ain't gonna make it." You know what I'm saying? You get all the haters and all the people, but what people don't realize that didn't do nothing but light a fire even that much more. You just watch. Just watch what I do. You know? And it just it inspired me and it pushed me and it just lit a fire in me, you know, to chase it. And you know, some people have the easy way, some people, you know, gotta go the hard way. And I realized that every step I had to go the hard way. And I appreciate, you know, my career for having had to go the hard way and accomplish it the hard way because nothing was given to me. Everything I got, I had to go take it and I had to go work for it.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Listen, speaking of your career, if there was anything that you could change, if you could, is there anything that you could change about your career? What would that be and why?
Gosh,
I know, hard question.
you know, there's a couple of things. You know, Jerome meant a lot to me, man. He was like my little brother, and I've been harping on him about working out and working and how much greater of a player he could have been if he just would have dedicated the time. And you know, that spring before he passed away, he had finally started to work out. He was getting,
Right.
you know,
Right.
and it just hurt me tremendously that, you know, I couldn't have been a whisper in his ear that day. Hey man, wet up there.
Right.
Just take your temperature. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So stuff like that, you know, that I couldn't inspire him in some way to be a little more careful, to, you know, not only keep himself around, but also his young nephew that passed away with him.
Right.
I guess, you know, the other thing is, you know, my exit from Philly to Arizona. Financially, it was the right move for me, you know. But when I stop and I think about it, you know, from a career perspective, it was the worst move because I wasted, you know, 3 good prime years in a place that was never destined to have success. You know, like I could have went to San Francisco. San Francisco wanted to sign me for less money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I could have went to San Francisco and in that span probably won 2 Super Bowls in that 3-year span.
Right.
But I chose to go to Arizona, and it was never going to work there.
They're still never going to work.
Well, I mean,
They're still not
it was. Yeah, man, listen, they came close. I mean, when Fitz got in there, Kurt Warner, they got 2 Super Bowl, and Pittsburgh came back and won it. But you know, it's just at that point in time, culturally as a team, culturally as a organization, they were never going anywhere the way that they were constructed.
Right.
You know, and there's a reason why bad organizations and bad teams, you know, never really accomplish anything because at the end of the day, you know, I can remember this one game, our second year. You know, I think we went 8-8, and the following year, we were like 1 yard away from we got stuffed on 4th down in Atlanta. If we scored that touchdown on the 1 yard line, they had the first winning season for like in the last 15 years. So we don't convert. We go 8-8. The following year we come back, and now losers mentality. They see how this defense how they can thrive and how they can, you know, strive in this defense. So now instead of everybody playing the defense and playing for each other, they playing for contracts and they playing for themselves. And the whole thing went to hell in a handbasket like that, you know. And what I learned through that process is that, you know, when you associate it with losing, you begin to search for W's and wins and how you personally play on the field. So, you know, that year I think we won like 4 games that year. And we had won a game, we in the locker room, and dude that I played linebacker, he's sitting next to me. He got his head down. Now the whole locker room is a buzz because we ain't won in about 4 or 5 weeks. You know what I'm saying? So everybody's excited.
Right.
And he's sitting there with his head hung. And I'm like, bro, what gives? He's like, man, all I had was 2 tackles today. And I'm like, but we won, man.
Yeah.
I'm like, the way you play, you come back next week, you might have 18 tackles. Now you average that out and you tell me 10 tackles a week, that ain't bad, right?
Bad, yeah.
But everything was caught up in personal performance with it.
Right.
And when you're on a team like that, you can never win because the big picture ain't on their mind because they're so used to losing that everything is wrapped up in their personal performance, you know. And so that I regretted going there from a career perspective, but from a financial perspective, it was the move for me to make at that point in time in my career.
Money, 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 money. Yeah. It's all right. I ain't mad at you. I ain't mad at you. As you all can hear, those of you watching right now, he has a great grasp. Seth has a great grasp of how the game of football is supposed to be played. X's and O's guy. He gets on the white. If you watch him on his podcast, he'll get on the whiteboard and do X's and O's and show you concepts and schemes and techniques and where players are supposed to be and how they can be the best player in that position by exercising these techniques and playing these particular schemes. And there are people over time who have said that you will be a great coach, which I agree with. I believe you'd be a great coach too. Have you ever considered coaching?
So I went, Rex Ryan's last year in Buffalo, I went and did an internship.
Didn't know that.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah. And it was a good experience because it taught me a couple of things. It taught me that, first of all, you got to be with the right group of guys on the coaching staff in order for it to make sense for you. Like if you're on a staff with guys that that you fighting against, or you're assistant. I'm assistant linebacker coach with somebody who never played the game before, and I got views, but I got to coach his technique.
Right.
That can become problematic for a person like me. And lastly, it taught me that coaching wasn't for me. Because just for that reason.
Right,
so,
right.
The linebacker coach, I'm in his room as an intern. In the first 3 days, this dude don't say a word to me, man. He don't say nothing to me.
He was threatened by you.
You
know that. He was threatened by you.
I get it. But he's the linebacker coach. I'm the intern. What you threatening about me for?
Because you might come in and take his job.
Well, listen, there's a process.
Insecurity.
But there's a process. You got to go, quality control, assistant, and then position coach.
Right.
And then hopefully one day a coordinator. That's the process. I was in the position of, I wasn't even a quality control guy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but if I bring a Seth Joyner in, knowing what he knows about the game of football, he's not going to stay at an intern level very long.
Well,
you're going to move up the ladder. You're eventually going to become a defensive linebackers coach, maybe defensive coordinator, and possibly even a head coach. He knew that.
Listen, I get it. But you don't treat anybody that way.
No, you're right.
Not 3 days in your room.
You're right.
And you running the room, and I'm there to learn from you about the process of how to become a coach.
Right.
You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
So I guess eventually he must have went to Rex, and Rex must have given him an assurance that, hey, he's just an intern. That's it. You shouldn't feel threatened. And then on the fourth day, they doing the install for the 46th defense, and he comes to me, Herb, and he asked me, he was like, hey, I'd like for you to do the install today. Now I know that. I know 46th defense like the back of my hand.
Right.
I can do that in my sleep. So I jump up on the board, I put it all up there, and as time goes on, I'm there for 5 weeks. And so now he's starting to pick my brain. He wants what I gotta eat. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I realized over time now, all the defensive coaches, Dennis Thurman was the defensive coordinator. Tim McDonald was the DB coach, and Ed Reed was the assistant DB coach.
Wow.
Yeah. So, by the time we training camp is winding down, and they go to Rex. They like, Rex, we need to keep this guy on. He's going to be an asset for us. And Rex told them, he said, listen, man, I don't have enough spots here. Okay. Now the NFL coaching staff.
They don't have enough money.
No, it's not even the money, because if you come in at that level, you coming in
They
chump change.
They keep as many people as
Yes,
they
they
want.
keep as many coaches as they want.
Exactly.
Okay.
There's no salary cap when it comes to coaching.
And this is the thing that really pissed me off. Okay, so they had the first female coach, and she was the special team coach. Now I was there for 5 weeks, and I ain't heard her open her mouth one time. One time. She ain't coach nobody. She ain't say nothing to nobody. She just walking around with the cards. with the special team car, and they wouldn't give me a job, and they kept her on the whole year, man. And at that point in time, I was like, "See, I see what this is all about, and this ain't for me."
Well, you still, I think you still be a great coach. You start our own team. Anyway, listen, that's enough about your career. I'm going to continue to badger you about your career. We're going to start talking about the Eagles.
Okay.
All right. And I know this is just going to go on and on and on and on. We're going to have to cap it at some point. But after we come back from
You ain't got to cap it, man.
well, we only got so much time. We'll do part two.
And listen, you can just let it run, and then
Let it
you
run,
cut it and make
cut it.
short to do whatever
There
you
you
want
go.
to do.
Be an engineer, make shorts, post it, all that. All right, but listen, we do have to pay some bills. So we're going to take a commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about the Eagles.
One.
All right, everybody. Stouffer Structures. Yeah, Stouffer Structures is a 49-year-old family business. Stouffer Structures is a storage shed and garage company located in the heart of the Amish country. Yeah, they ship structures nationwide. You can check them out on mysheds.com. They strive to be the undisputed choice of modular garages, sheds, and outdoor living products in the United States while furthering the kingdom of God. That's why I love them. Stouffer Structures is known for their fast delivery, great quality, and great client service. So if you're looking for a garage or a shed or any kind of outdoor living product, Stouffer Structures is the way to go. And if you mention the Fryar Place in any purchase that you have with Stouffer Structures, you get 10% off. Check them out at mysheds.com. All right, we're back. Give me a 2-shot. Thank you. So listen, we talked about your career, Seth, and we're here live at the Cigar Code 939 North Delaware Avenue. This is the third Friday of the month. Normally, the first Friday of the month, we're here live with a live audience. Give yourselves a hand clap. We have a live guest. This is my dude right here, Seth Joyner, Eagles Hall of Famer. We've talked about his career. Now we're shifting and we're going to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles. Some of this is going to be painful. Some of this you may not want to hear, but I promise you it's going to be the truth. The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So, Seth, this is what I'm going to do first when it comes to the Eagles. I'm going to say a name, and then you give your comment. All right? You can comment as long as you want. You can comment as short as you want. but I'm gonna give you. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 names. I'm gonna give you a name. You run with it as far as you want, and when you're finished, I'm gonna give you another name, and we're gonna go through all 8 names. We're gonna get through these names, all right? All right. So the first name is Vic Fangio.
Listen, I was really impressed with Vic week 1 because what he showed in the preseason is what he put out there in week 1. The defense stood tall early in the game, which I believe really saved the game. There was still about those two turnovers in back-to-back the first 2 series. And then, I asked the question. I'm like, wow, we heard that Jonathan Gannon and Sean Desai were Vic Fangio, disciples. That hey, they run a type of defense, that comes from him. That Jonathan Gannon was, the branch, and Sean Desai might have been, the leaf. Yeah. Well, now, the Eagles have covered Vic Fangio all these years. Now we got the trick, and then he turns around in week 2, and now I begin to see, some Sean Desai and some Jonathan Gannon, and I'm like, wait a minute, what happened? What happened? So I know that the aggressive side of him is in there, but I'm not so sure that philosophically, from an organizational standpoint, that what the transition that we saw from what we saw week 1 to week 2 isn't necessarily an organizational thing, because you got to realize the Eagles are run, primarily by analytics.
Okay, we're gonna talk about. Don't go into analytics. I'm gonna talk about that later.
I'm not gonna go into it, but I in order to make this point, right, I got to bring it up. The Eagles believe that the way you win on offense is you pass the ball early, you run late. That's what the analytics say. That it's a passing league. We want explosive plays. We want to hit big plays down the field.
Right.
So conversely, if you believe that from an offensive perspective, then the analytics have got to say at the other end of the spectrum that, we don't want to give up any big plays. So we're going to play deep, we're going to play off, we're going to bend but don't break in between the 20s, and then we're going to bow our necks, once we get in the red zone. But you can't play that way, in my opinion. There are certain times in every game where you have to bring pressure. You got to turn to your corners and you got to turn to your linebackers and say, hey, we got to bring pressure. So that means you got to stand up. You got the guys that are coming, you got to get home. You guys that are covering out there, you may have to cover for a tick longer, but this is what we got to do. On 4th and 4, we should have been blitzing. Then we come back on 1st and 10 the next play. Then we blitz. Boom, they hit the 41-yard touchdown.
Right. So
when you should have applied the pressure, you didn't. When you really didn't need to apply the pressure, you brought it and it hurt you. So I don't know what to make of it. I mean, I just got to keep watching and look at how he, continues to call these defenses, because what I saw from week 1 to week 2 was completely opposite.
Don Shula would have told us from week 1 to week 2, in the meeting in week 2, the first meeting Monday morning, Don Shula would have stood before us, God rest his soul. He would have told us he went out there and pissed up a rope. That's what he would have said.
Yeah.
That's what they did.
Yeah.
Kellen Moore.
A little bit more the same. I really love the way he called week 1. Week 2, you watched Jalen in the second half, and he pretty much had to put the offense on his shoulders to keep us in that game. Some of those runs, the converted first downs. I'm not so sure that I agree with, the third down play down by the goal line.
Right. We'll get to that. Yeah.
Personally, I would have just ran the ball. Potentially, you get to a 4th and 1, then you go to your tush push, which last year you converted 89%. It was a great call because I think they caught the defense off balance. But I always say, if you're going to run a play like that, the options are you safer? Are you more likely to fumble the ball, or are you more likely to drop the ball? Okay? You're more likely to drop the ball than you are to fumble it.
Right.
Right. Plus, you want to keep the clock running. You want to eat up.
That's the biggest
variable
right there. You want to keep the clock running.
So, I think in a lot of ways, you know, Kellen Moore is a guy who had a lot of success in Dallas. The knock on him in Dallas was he didn't run Zeke enough. And the offense had transitioned from, you know, a run first, play action pass type offense to, okay, here that, you know, we done gave you all this money, we're gonna give you the keys to the kingdom, you know, and it kind of moved away from the running game, and I think that was detrimental to how Dallas, and I think that's what got him out of Dallas, you know. So I thought that when he came here, lesson learned, he would go a different direction. Now, yeah, he gave Saquon a bunch of carries, you know, in both games. He was productive. But sometimes it's when you run. When you run is just as important as how much you run and if you run. And I think sometimes, you know, the Eagles get caught up in this thing where, you know, they want to pass. And it's a dead giveaway to a defense to be able to see that and put themselves in a position where they can attack you know. And then sometimes, you know, when you abandon the run like that, when you need to go back to it, you just can't get that flow going again, you know. So again, like Vic, the I saw some good things, but the jury's still out as to what they really going to be.
I agree. Now take a deep breath. You know, Vic said, I'm good. Take a deep breath.
I thought you would start with this guy. No, I'm just joking. Go ahead.
You feel I was going to start with this guy? But take a deep breath, because I guess you know who I'm getting ready, what name I'm getting ready to say. Jordan Davis.
Hey, listen, man.
I said it. Listen, I've heard what you said. I said it before the season. Before the season ever started, I said that this cat was going to be a first round bust.
So let's go all the way back to when they drafted. Okay. He was on a pitch count in Georgia.
Right. So that's why I gave him the first year, because he didn't play that many plays at Georgia, because they were always beating teams. So the first team was out. So yeah, he wasn't used to playing 30, 40 plays a game.
Right. And he never was really, you know, a threat as a pass rusher.
Right.
You know, I'll take it even further. Like, I'm the type of person, man, you know, I can do my own evaluation. Like, I can look at a player and look at his demeanor and how he plays the game. Like, Jalen Carter's a dog. You know, Jordan Davis ain't got no dog, man. And when I heard the report that, you know, when he was growing up, he was so big, his mom had to make him play football. Okay. I bugged the hell out of my mom to play, because my mom didn't understand football. And I had an older brother, and she wouldn't let him play football. And I just bugged the hell out of the bug. And soon my brother was like, let him play. It might be his thing, because he just won't let it go.
Right.
You know? But when a player has to be pushed to play when they're young, it's not something that they really want to do. That kind of stuff speaks volumes to me, you know? And he's 350 plus pounds, okay? You got to be real conscious about his weight. And Philly ain't the place for a guy like that, man. I mean, between cheesesteaks and tasty cakes, bro. you know what I'm saying?
No,
It's like, and he's a mama's boy.
Right.
You know,
right.
His mama lived with him. Now that ain't a bad thing, but when you drafting a guy at 13,
it's not a good thing either, though. It's not a good thing either.
Yeah.
At some point, the eagle has to get out of the nest.
No, I agree 100%. But you know, when you draft somebody at 13, you look for that guy to be one of your foundational pieces, and he can't be one-dimensional. He can't be just a run stopper. He's got to be a guy at 13 that can get it done in both phases. And I realized that, you know, hey, it's hard to find guys like that. But you come back the next year and you find a guy like that in Jalen Carter, you know? So I just feel like he's a mistake, because you can't pick him at 13 and he not be a guy that can give you what you need. Because you drafted him with the mindset. You actually drafted both of these guys with the mindset that one day Fletcher Cox was going to walk out of that building and he was going to retire. And these guys were going to be the guys that step up, you know, and take up the mantle. And Jordan Davis, in his third year, he ain't it, man. He ain't it. I mean, a guy sent me some stuff today. He was like, you know, you tell me that he's not a good player. And he can be dominant when he wants to be.
He wants to.
Okay.
Maybe 1 or 2, 3 plays, and that's it.
But this is the problem I have.
Yes, spurts.
Yeah, but this is the problem I have with highlight reels. You know, somebody sent me a highlight reel. I'm like, that's all fine and dandy. You showing me what they do You're showing me the best of them, okay? You want me to really evaluate a player? Give me 3 games, because I want to see how he reacts when the team's getting their ass kicked. I want to see how he reacts in 4th and 1 situations. You understand what I'm saying? You know, is he like trying to make something happen, or is he a guy that's standing over on the sideline drinking Gatorade in 4th and 1 when he should be in the game? I don't care what the sports science people say. If it's 4th and 1, my ass is in the game. Yeah. If I consider myself one of the main cogs, one of the main reasons why our defense is going to be successful, I got to be on the field because I feel like I'm going to be the guy to make that play. So if your mentality ain't that way, you're not a player that I really want on my team.
You ain't that guy. You ain't that guy. You mentioned him earlier, Jalen Carter. That's the next thing.
I just think he a dog, and I think that I don't know Clint Hurt, you know, the defensive line coach. I don't know what his credentials are. I don't know what he brings to the table. All I do is look at players, and I look at how they play. And the one thing I learned over the years, what you see on the field is either being coached or it's being allowed. Let me say that again. It's either being coached or it's being allowed. Okay? So when I see a player not being able to take the steps, when I see a player not giving his best, and I'm not saying Jalen Carter's ever out there not giving 100. You understand what I'm saying? But what I'm saying is every player needs to be developed. Okay? Very few players come from the college ranks and have what it takes to just step in the pro ranks and be able to just step in and be successful. So every player has to be developed. Every player has to mature along the way. And when I look at Jalen Carter, if he's got a great technician as a coach that can help him gather all the tools and put them in his toolbox so that he can pull those tools out on game day and utilize them, then he's a player that can be dominant. He can be one of the greats, in my opinion. He can be the Philadelphia Eagles' next Jerome Brown, in my opinion. Okay? But he needs that coaching. And when I see him, you know, in rundowns, you know, when you get double teamed in a run situation, okay, you can't fight 600 pounds. No. Even if you are 300 pounds.
You gotta pick a guy.
Okay.
Pick a side.
So what you gotta do is you gotta dominate one of those guys.
Pick a side.
Okay. So if the center and the guard comes off and you know that the guard is trying to get up next level, you gotta dominate the center. Right. And then you got your gap, and the linebacker's got to get his ass downhill, and he's got to dominate his guy and get his gap. Okay. But what I see him doing, he's trying to fight 2 guys.
Just fight 2 guys.
And you can't win that. Yeah. He ain't even trying to get skinny and get in the gap. You understand what I'm saying? Right. He's trying to fight 600 pounds. And even when he pass rushes, he's got to have tools. Like, you can't bull rush. Quarterbacks are like, they're programmed 1001, 1002. Gotta go. That ball got to be out of their hand. Yeah, so are you pushing that guy 1001, 1002? By the time you decide to make a move, quarterback's already got rid of the ball. So he's got to learn how to win off the snap.
That's, like you said, it's coaching. It's coaching. That's coaching. All right, take another breath. Take another breath. I told y'all. I told you. And I'm 100% in agreement with you. LiQWYD. See, take another breath.
Great college player. I'm wondering.
Notice he said great college player.
Hey, listen, because they're great college players. It's just not, you know, they're not built for the pro game. Right. Like, first time I saw him, I was like, man, he's small.
Yep.
You know?
If I saw him and I had pads on, I had the ball, I tried to run him over.
Absolutely.
Seriously. There were linebackers when I played that when I saw, I didn't want none. I'm trying to make them miss. But there were other ones that when I played, I saw him, but I had the ball, I'm going to run you over. And he's one of the cats I try to run over.
Well, think about this. Okay. LiQWYD is 220 pounds max. Okay. On his best day. So now, when you're in your 5-man front, you have the ability to, you know, allow your middle backer, you know, to play one gap and flow everywhere else. Because you got 5 down linemen. So all those gaps are covered except for that one gap. So he can play clean.
Flow and finds that one gap and hits. Yeah.
But when you're at a 4-man line, you know, if you keep the tight end to block and the tight end turns out in the end, now all of a sudden you got double teams on both tackles, which means he's got to come down and take that double team off his tackle. Okay, so now he's giving up 100 pounds, 100 pounds. Okay, and everybody's wondering why he's been hurt the last couple of years, because he's got to come down and take on that offensive lineman, giving up 100 pounds, and he's got to hold his ground. Right. He got 100 extra pounds leaning on him. You understand what I'm saying? And all of his injuries have been lower body injuries, been lower leg injuries. Right. Okay. Right. I just don't think he's big enough. I don't think he can last. Now, if you can keep him clean and let him run from sideline to sideline, he can make some tackles. Right. But and I'm always looking at the stats. Okay, how many tackles he had? He had 5 tackles, but guess what? They were all 5, 6, 7 yards down the field. Too late. I don't see him unless they blitz him. I don't see him getting up in the line on a running play and making a play in the line of scrimmage. Right. For a 1 yard gain or a 2 yard gain. Most of his tackles happen 5, 6 yards down the field. That's not good linebacker play, in my opinion.
He's not stopping the runner; he's pulling him down, and that's not what you do as a linebacker. All right, take another breath. Bryce Huff.
That's a mistake.
I should have said his name. No, I know. I'm just.
It's I don't care what anybody says. That's a mistake. Okay, Howie Roseman has done a good job over the years of duping other organizations. Okay, he's cleared salary cap space. He's gotten draft capital. He's gotten players, and he's pissed off a lot of other GMs around the league for how he's able to maneuver and operate.
I think he's got naked pictures of some folk around the league.
That's how he
can do what he's been able to do. He gets kind of
I mean, he
does some stuff he does some stuff that, like, how did he get that done?
Well, he got duped on this one. Yes, he got duped on this one because you think about it. Huff had 11 sacks in New York last year. He only played 40% of the plays. His contract was up. Just wasn't in a hurry to give him $50 million. Right. But the Eagles was like, hey, we'll give you Hassan Reddick because he want more money, and we'll take Josh Huff, and then we'll sign him to a 3-year, $53 million deal. So you traded potential for a proven commodity. That's a mistake. Because all Haas wanted was to be compensated for the level of performance. 27 sacks in 2 seasons. Right. Okay? If he's in the top 4 or 5, edge rushers in the National Football League, and the top guy's getting 30, the next guy's getting 28, the next guy's getting 25, 20. All you got to do is bring him up to 22, 23, and he happy. You mean to tell me they couldn't find another $6, $7, $8 million to get this kid and extend him for 2 years for a proven commodity? Right. But you chose to go after a guy because he's a little bit younger, and he had the similar production as Haas last year, and Haas was hurt for the first 5 or 6 games out there trying to play with one hand. You understand what I'm saying? So you were willing to make that move, and now we got a problem on our hands.
Bryce Huff has an assisted tackle or 2
games? Yeah, no stats.
One assisted tackle?
No stats. That's
in 2 games? Linebacker. One assisted tackle in 2 games.
That's a PJT. That's what we used to call him. That's a power jumping tackle, assisted tackle. Okay, somebody already.
So he's already down. He jumped on the power.
Yeah. So they were like, he ain't got nothing. Let's give him an assist. Nothing, man. Nothing. I mean, that's a mistake. And listen, everybody's talking about how the Eagles can fix it. If they can't stop the run,
we're gonna get to that.
No, but okay. But go ahead. If they can't stop the run, then they're never going to be able to survive in the pass. Okay, exactly. And technically and fundamentally across the board, the linemen got Velcro on their chest. They can't get off blocks. The linebackers got Velcro on their chest. They can't get off blocks. And the DBs need some damn Velcro on their chest so they can make a damn tackle. You understand what I'm saying? So long term, technique and fundamentals are worked on in the offseason. You perfect those things in the offseason, right? Okay? There's no time to fix that now.
It's too late.
And you either can rush the passer or you can't. There ain't no magic switch that all of a sudden you're going to turn it on. Now, Josh Sweat can rush the passer. He just ain't getting home right now. He was playing on one half of lead. You understand what I'm saying? So the Eagles are they got problems on their hands right now because they're gonna keep doubling those two guys in the middle. And I know you seen the film, they had a tight end blocking Josh Huff. I'm like, I like drool on my shirt anytime I have a tight end blocking me. And he beating him like he a little redhead stepchild.
Like cornbread batter. That's what Hollis said. Darius Slay. He says he owes us one. Where do you think he is in his career?
Slade's been a great player for a lot of years. You know, he is stealing mode right now. You know what that is.
I know that. That's why I gave you his name.
You play to your maximum. Okay. For an example, I was a good player until I got the year left. Okay. I was lined up over against the tight end one day, and in my mind, I'm like, he gonna reach it. He gonna reach it. He gonna reach it. So I'm gonna reach it. My reaction has slowed down. And I knew in that moment that the clock was ticking. Okay. Every player knows that. Every player knows when when the curtain's about to fall.
Yeah, when things have changed.
Yeah, you know. Okay. And the saying is, you know, you play your maximum years and then you try to steal a couple of years. Slade stealing mode.
He's still in mode right now. Y'all heard it right here. I told y'all, listen, this is the Fryar Place where the conversations are fire. You can't get this anywhere else.
And I know when he see this or he hear this,
I don't care.
He gonna come.
I don't care.
Listen,
look, I don't care.
He gonna come at me.
That's all right.
He
Come
don't
at
come
me. I don't care.
He don't come.
But I agree with him. You stealing money.
He don't come at me, but it's okay.
My big play Slay. Not anymore. My last name, Jalen Hurts.
Listen, man, I love Jalen. I really do, man.
But
I think that
you can't say but.
Listen, I think that he has the potential to be better than Lamar Jackson because he can throw the ball. I think he's smart. I think he's cerebral. I think the Eagles need to ensure that they keep Kellen Moore around for the next 5 years because it's important. People don't realize Jalen Hurts had 3 different offensive coordinators in the last 3 years. And he's had a different coordinator every year since his freshman year at Alabama, except for 1 year. Okay, and show me another quarterback in the National Football League who's had him endure that. The only way that he can master a system and really understand and own the system is for him to be in it long enough to do so.
Exactly.
Okay?
Exactly.
Now, he got to stop turning the damn ball. Okay? I'm not going to exonerate him from that. I will not absolve him or excuse him from that. But the other end of the spectrum, I will not absolve or exonerate the fact that he plays good football. Like in the Green Bay game, it's unquestionable that he can't make that throw and throw that interception on 3rd and 15. Okay,
No, can't do it.
The fumble might not have been his fault, but he's a quarterback. He's a controller. He got to ensure that don't happen. And then you can't turn around and almost throw 3 up. Okay, but I'm not going to ignore
before he threw the play before.
Yeah, that's almost a big six.
Almost a big six.
Yeah. But I'm not gonna negate the fact that he threw for 278 yards and 2 touchdowns and kept the Eagles in the game. Everybody likes to throw the bathwater out with the baby. I'm not gonna do that with him. Okay. But that growth has to continue in a lot of ways. That growth can only occur if they give him an offensive coordinator and a system that he can make his own.
Right.
You know, right. Because he can make all the throws. And and those bursts that he had last week,
right. He looked like himself.
He looked like himself.
Week 1, he really didn't look like himself to me in terms of his movement, his agility, and escaping out of the pocket. He was a little bit lethargic, a little bit slow.
We don't know what the issue is.
Right.
I think I know what it is. When he hyperextended his knee last year,
yeah.
He was never right from that point on. Right. Okay. But at the other end of the spectrum too, you know what injury is like. I had 6 surgeries when I played. Okay. And there's 2 components to healing. there's the physical healing where all of a sudden, you know, you moving around, everything's feels good, and you confident from a physical standpoint. But there's also that mental healing that has to happen. Okay, where for him, if it's the left knee, every single time that somebody gets close to that left knee, he's conscious of that because he remembered the injury. He remembered what he had to go through in the offseason to get right, and he remembers the rehab, and he's thinking in your mind, you like, I don't want to go down that road again. Right. So you protective of it. It's not until you get hit on it again and you like, oh, okay, it's good. I'm good. That's the mental healing that a lot of players have to go through, and I think Jalen went through that mental healing in week 1, and it's evident by the way he ran the ball and the explosive the way we saw him operate in week 2.
I've heard you say this before. I'm sticking with Jalen Hurts right now because I have an issue with that last series and the interception, the one interception he did throw in the second game against the Falcons. I've heard you say this, and this was something that we always talked about in my career on the teams I played for. Just get us to a place at the end of the game where we have a chance to win the game. Doesn't matter what happens. Don't care what happened first, second, third, and the first part of the fourth quarter. But if we're playing well enough, we're playing good enough to be in a position late in the fourth quarter to have an opportunity to win the game. Against the Falcons, the Eagles had that opportunity. They had, what was it, 30-some seconds, 40 seconds when they got the ball back, and threw ball to Goddard. Good game, called the timeout. Now they only need 15 to 20 yards to get within range for the field goal. Still have one timeout left. Got 19 seconds left. And then Jalen throws the interception. The Eagles, as far as this is my opinion, we don't have Jalen Hurts as a $250 million quarterback. We don't have him in that position, and paying him that kind of money just not to lose the game for the Eagles. We pay him that kind of money as a top shelf quarterback when the time comes to put the team on his back, like you said earlier, and win the game. Much like Josh Allen does, much like Patrick Mahomes does. And in that time, or at that time, with one timeout still left, 19 seconds left, you got time for 3 plays in 19 seconds. And you only need 15 to 20 yards. And the Falcons weren't stopping. For him to throw that interception is inexcusable for me. And I blame that on Jalen because we had an opportunity, Eagles, we had an opportunity to win that game. And we very easily could have won that game had he not thrown that interception. Maybe throwing the ball over the middle. You got a timeout. You can still throw the ball in the middle of the field. He had, was it Covey in the middle of the field? That play, Covey was sitting right in front of him in the middle of the field.
Well, this is one of the faults that I have with Jalen. You know, you can tell by the way, if you can look at the targets every game. And
AJ Brown.
That'll tell you
that they missed AJ Brown.
I get it, but that'll tell you who he trusts.
AJ Brown.
So I felt like that, you know, the Falcons was a team that I felt like it was a blessing in disguise in a way that AJ wasn't playing. And this is why, because most people would be like, what are you talking about? Yeah, we needed AJ. And it was very apparent to me how big of a piece he is, okay, to the puzzle. But Jalen had an opportunity to get out of that mindset that I'm looking for wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 1, and wide receiver 2, to be able to incorporate Dallas Goedert, who I believe is a superstar in waiting, and who I believe is going to walk away from this organization this year.
If he don't get
no, he's out of here. He's out of here. He's out of here. Because, you know, if I'm him with his skill set and what he can do, watching Kelsey and Kittles and all these other tight ends do what they do, I'm out of here. You know,
and they can game plan him in.
Absolutely.
That's easy. A good offensive coordinator can make sure it's playing chess, not checkers. Make sure they put him in a place to game plan him to get him the ball.
And Kellen Moore took some tight ends in Dallas that was just also ran and used them in ways, and that was one of the things that I was really excited about that he would bring for Dallas Goedert. Okay, it was an opportunity for him to incorporate Jahan Dotson, into the offense.
I don't think Jahan knows the offense well enough.
Yeah, but you know what, man?
Yeah.
How many times quarterback come to you and say, "Hey, he lined about
There you go.
just run slam."
Just run slam.
Come on,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, we can do that. He's first round draft choice too, so he can do that.
Yeah, he might not have a full grasp,
Right.
but that don't mean you're not.
You can't
As quarterback, you got to be aware of where all your guys are.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he had an opportunity to kind of spread things out, and approach this from a different perspective. Now, on the interception, he made up his mind. You go back and you watch that. He made up his mind that the only player that was getting that damn ball in that situation was Devontae Smith.
That's
and
what
the
I'm
Falcons
saying.
and the Falcons knew it because you talked about Kobe. Kobe was coming across the middle underneath Devontae. Devontae was out here. Kobe was coming here. He could have threw that ball to Kobe, and Kobe was on a dead sprint. He would have ran out of bounds, and they could have saved the timeout. They would have picked up about 10 to 12 yards.
Right.
But because he made up his mind that the only damn person who was getting that ball and that down was Devontae Smith, that's what created that situation. Right. And he needs to get away from that. The quarterback has to go through his progression and always give the ball to the open guy. I get it. You got a superstar in A.J. Brown. I get it. You got wide receiver number 1A in Devontae Smith.
Mm-hmm.
But there are other guys out there on the field that you can utilize.
Right.
You don't utilize the middle of the field as much as you should. You understand what I'm saying? So he's got to kind of get away from that.
And the defense knows that.
They know.
The defense knows, like you said, you study the film, you know what his where he's going to go, who his favorite targets are, what he normally does in this type of situation or that type of situation.
Now, if A.J. Brown was in that game, okay.
Well, if he was in the game, I don't even think it would have gone down.
Well, let's just hypothetically say that he's in the game in that situation.
They want to slam.
They're gonna double him. They're gonna double him
Right.
and take him away.
Right.
Now Devontae's gonna be wide open in that situation.
Yes.
And you might be able to connect on him.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But when you know that AJ ain't in the Brown, ain't in the game, who you think they're gonna try to take away?
Devontae.
They can take him away. So who's the next guy that you trust?
Mm-hmm.
And if you don't have the level of trust with those guys that you need to, then you need to start spending some extra time after practice to ensure that you get that trust.
You know they can't do that.
Sure they can.
The coach can't tell them. They can do it, but the coach can't tell them to do it after practice and throw some extra routes.
You know how many times I stayed after practice and worked on stuff on my own?
I did it all the time.
Okay, so if you want to be good, you want to be great, then you do what's necessary to get there.
Big word. If we're gonna keep this rolling. I've heard you talk about. I'm done with the names. Heard you talk about. We almost talked about it a little while ago. The analytics of the game when it comes to, that second possession. It was 4th and 4, and they decided to go for it and got nothing. Second possession when they should have just kicked the field goal, put points on the board. Now you're ahead, and it changes what they have to do now offensively and what they have to do in their game plan because you have a lead now. And then we get to the pass where Saquon Barkley dropped the ball. We're talking about 3rd down, and they should have run the ball. But based on analytics, because Sirianni has the analytics department in his ear, they throw the ball. It was a good play because he was open.
It was.
But the unexpected overrides the analytics because they didn't expect him to drop the ball. The analytics don't include the unexpected. The analytics are based on the facts and numbers.
The analytics is based on probability.
And probability. Well, they base that on facts and numbers, things that happen in certain situations.
I don't like probabilities.
I don't like probabilities either because it made more sense to me, like it did to a lot of people. Just run the freaking ball. Why? Because the major issue at that time, the major concern was the clock. Run the clock out. They had no timeouts. Talk about analytics and what you think about the analytics of the game and how that, again, like you said, I heard you say this, it removes the blame from the coach. Because if he makes a decision based on what the analytics say and it doesn't go right, then he says, well, the analytics said that. It's not my fault. Blame the analytics.
See, everything for me comes down to accountability. And if I'm a head coach and I'm being driven by the analytics and the analytics of making the decision, when it comes time for you to make a decision whether you want to fire me or not, how do you legitimately do that?
Right.
Because I'm just doing what the numbers tell me to do.
Uh-huh.
And the analytics guys, they don't have any accountability because probability is based upon a 50-50 proposition.
Right.
Okay. All these going forward on fourth downs, it's supposed, not supposed, but it's believed that coaches who operate at a high level of going forward in fourth down situations,
Mm-hmm.
if you can get right around 52%, that you're converting at a very high rate. That's 50-50,
That's
man.
50-50, yeah.
That's 50-50
That's not
all day
good.
long.
That's not
so
good.
I don't like, and the 50-50 proposition and probabilities always say that the law of averages at some point is going to catch up with you.
Mm-hmm.
That as much as you go for it, at some point in time,
Right.
it's going to go the other way.
Right.
That's just the law of averages. It's not going to always work out. Okay. The only area where they operating way above the probability is tush push, because they're converting at 89% of the time. Last year they did.
All the more reason why they should have ran the ball, got 2 or 3 yards, because they were running at 5 yards a clip anyway. It didn't matter if they had 8 in the box. It didn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah.
Run the ball, and then you got the tush push, and guess what? That's high probability.
And listen, there is a place in football for analytics. Okay. When I was coming up, they give you the computer printout.
Right.
Okay. Right. And they ain't never teach you how to read the damn thing. You know. But they give it to you.
Right, right.
You know, and when I studied, I was actually, Irv, I was creating my own analytics when I really stopped and think about it, because I'm a firm believer. Don't give me a device for anything. I don't want an Apple Pad, an iPad. I don't want a Microsoft Surface Pro, because guess what? If I'm just watching it, I'm just watching a movie.
Right.
The only way that I really retain information is for me to take notes. Okay. So when I sat down and I studied film on Tuesday, because I would come in early, watch film, and get the game plan on Tuesday night. So Wednesday was my run day. I'm watching 4 film, give me 4 game films. I'm gonna watch all 4 game films, and then I'm gonna break down, give me all the cut-ups. All the 4. The cut-ups are, okay, I got split backs, I back, 2 tight ends, 12 personnel, 3 wide receiver. I want to see every single run out of every single formation, and I'm charting the down and the distance.
Right.
Okay, where they are on the field. Now, by the time I get done charting it, now I look at my sheet. Oh hell! Every time they get in 1st and 10, and they're in I formation, they like to run tall, strong. Right. Why? Because I done charted 15 of them over 4 games. You understand? And I look at the other side where they don't even run the ball over there on 1st and 10. So what's the probability of them running the ball over here? Okay? So I'm creating my own analytics. Right. And then Thursday, that was my passing day. I did the same exact thing. Right. Okay, with the passing stuff. Then Friday was short yards and goal. Okay, so by the time I got to Saturday, I had my own analytics. And you know what? Even though I had them on paper, guess what? They was in here. Yeah. I could like close my eyes and see the sheet. I could see those 15 plays. The first and 10, I you know, on the plus 20. You understand what I'm saying? So there's a place for analytics. But when analytics starts making the decisions for who we draft and who we hire and what plays we should run and what players should be up and what players should be down from week to week, they control that kind of stuff. And and I'm the head coach, and I'm privy to every conversation that's going on the defensive side of the ball when the defense is on the field. All I gotta do is click a button. When we're on offense, all I gotta do is click the other button. I got all the conversations going on between my coordinator, my offensive coordinator, my quarterback coach, and every position player. Okay. And then I got another guy that's in my ear, that's analytics. And he's telling me, hey, coach, you know, this is what the numbers say. And those numbers are driving the decisions of the head coach. And so now the head coach is not coaching off of his gut and his feel for the situation. He's being influenced at all times by the analytics. Okay? So I may say to myself, no, we're going to punt the ball here. And the analytics guys, no, we should go for it. And I punt it. Then I go in on Tuesday, and I got to sit in with the GM and the owner, and I got to explain to them why I decided to go against the recommendation of the department they're paying millions of dollars to on a yearly basis. Okay, that shouldn't be, because that guy is doing analytics. If I gave him a jockstrap, Herb, he wouldn't know whether to put it on the front or the back.
That's good stuff, y'all. That's just good stuff. And you're right. the analytics shouldn't drive. It should be a feel thing. It should be a sense for the game as a head coach. This sense what's going on in the game.
This is the analogy that I use. Okay, if you could give Pete Carroll a redo, you think he'd turn around and hand that ball to Marshawn Lynch instead of throwing that slant against New England?
He would definitely hand the ball to Marshawn Lynch for sure.
Okay,
for sure.
All right,
and the game would be different. Somebody else would be here.
That decision,
the Super Bowl champion.
That decision destroyed that team.
Yes,
it destroyed.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Another more recent. Okay. Dan Campbell last year in the NFC Championship game. Okay. He's in field goal range. He decides to go for it. Instead of tying the game, he goes for it. San Francisco stuffs it. San Francisco takes the ball, scores a touchdown to go up by 10. So instead of being tied in that situation and giving your defense, now your whole team has got a renewed sense of energy because the game is tied. Okay? That you go for it, now the energy is down with the offense, and the defense is like, damn, we still down, and they got the ball on a short field. Okay? So now, do you think that if he had a redo, he'd kick the field goal? Because this is what I'm saying. He cost his team. That team hadn't been in the playoffs in 20 years. Now you on the doorstep of a Super Bowl.
21, well, not 21 years, but they didn't make it to the Super Bowl.
And then you got, this is how bad it is. Now they're showing us in a caption during the game what the analytics say that you should do. Okay? And at that moment, the crew that was doing the game, they was like, well, Dan Campbell's he's been aggressive all year long. We expect for him to go for it here. No, you don't. No, you don't. Not in that situation. Listen, if it's the first quarter and you feel the need to go for it because either that team, your opponent, is scoring at such a high clip, you realize that you got to keep pace. Okay?
And it's necessary.
Then you go for it. But you got the Super Bowl on at stake. You know, and people are like, oh, you know, he wants to give his players confidence. Bull. You know, those players got confidence when they made the 53-man roster. Any decision that he make to go for it or not go for it is not going to express any more, any less confidence in his players, man. That's nonsense. It's absolute nonsense.
Nonsense. Y'all are quiet in here. Except telling it like it is. I love you, man. I love you. One last thought. We're going to cut this up.
Listen, man, whatever you want to do.
Cut this up. Eagles are playing in New Orleans this weekend.
Not a chance.
Oh, right. You didn't even finish my question.
You don't need to finish.
New Orleans is playing like, well, you know, nobody anticipated, nobody saw. You know, when we looked at the schedule with the Eagles, when the schedule came out before they started playing any games, nobody saw or anticipated this game being a tough game, or even the Falcons game, which is coming up. Not the Falcons game, but the Tampa Bay game coming up after the New Orleans game. We never thought that would be a tough game. But now you've got the Saints and the Buccaneers playing at a high level right now. They're not the best teams. I don't think they're the best teams in the league right now, but they're playing like the best team in the league right now. Give us a prediction for the game, and we're going to be out of here. Give us a prediction for the game. I mean, we can't stop the run. We can't pressure the quarterback. I think quarterback making bad decisions.
I think that when people hear me analyze the Eagles, you know, I think sometimes they have this fallacy belief that, you know, I revel in
their demise.
And their demise. You know, nothing can be further further from the truth than that. What I want is for the Eagles to take their behind down Broad Street and go back to the Art Museum one more time, because that was a glorious day. Like, you understand what I'm saying? But I got to tell the truth, right? You know, right? Because when people tune in to hear my analysis, Philly fans are smart. I don't care what people outside of Philly think or how they feel about Philadelphia Eagles fans, but they're loyal fans. They are smart fans. Okay. When they turn me on, they want me to tell them. They want me to confirm what they already know. That's why they tune in. They want me to tell the truth. Okay. And you know, I live by, you know, what my mom told me a long time ago. She said, son, whatever you do it in truth. She said, because the truth is like a lion. You don't need to defend it, just turn him loose. He'll defend himself. Right. Okay. She said, but if you lie, if you tell a lie, you got to cover that lie 10 different ways of Sunday. Okay. And people can see through the lie. But people, even though in Jack Nicklaus' words, you can't handle the truth, people want the truth, right? They really do. Okay. So at the end of the day, you know, to answer your question, they don't stand a snowball chance in hell going down to New Orleans and winning that game. Man. You know, they just don't.
I agree with you. I just want the people to hear it from you.
No, listen. Everything that New Orleans offensively is good at, the Eagles defense ain't no good at.
Like when I was talking about, no, it's all good. We still good. We still keep us on the double shot.
Everything that they do good is a weakness for the Eagles. You know, the Eagles can't stop the run. The Eagles can't get a pass rush. So once they start running the ball and Derek Carr start doing that play action pass, it's a wrap, man. Right. And now you think about it. The Cowboys, and Lord knows I hate them. If you think about it, they have a very athletic defense. They play fast, they play hard, and they play aggressive. Right. If they can go to Dallas and beat them like they stole something, what do you think?
Beat them down, beat the brakes off.
What do you think is going to happen? They're going into the Superdome, man. They're going into the Caesars Superdome. They at home 2-0. And then who that fan?
Who that?
With all them bags on their head, they're gonna be rabid, man. Listen, the Eagles don't stand a snowball's chance in hell going down there and winning that game. You know, and as much as I love them, man, by the time they get to week 4, they go on the bye week. They're gonna be 1-3.
They're gonna be 1-3.
They'll be 1-3.
Yeah, because they got to go down.
They got to go to Tampa. Yeah, and Todd Bowles
Bowles gonna blitz.
They have confirmed.
Yes.
And they keep saying it. We got the blueprint on how to beat Jalen Hurts.
They proved it last year in the playoffs.
Come on, man.
Yeah.
You got to tell the truth.
Yeah.
If the truth hurts.
Know the truth, and the truth will set you free. Don't bet on the Eagles this weekend. If you heard it here at the Fryar Place, I'm telling you, if you're a betting person, if you bet on the game, don't bet. Well, if you do bet on the Eagles to lose. All right? Spend your money this weekend. Listen, this has been a great show today. Bro, I appreciate you being here. Big time. Awesome.
My pleasure.
Come on, put your hands together. So Seth Joyner, you're at the Fryar Place live. You're at the Cigar Cove, 939 North Delaware Avenue. We're here every first Friday of the month. We'll be here the first Friday in September, October. That's in a couple of weeks. So y'all look for the post on Instagram and on Facebook for our next guest, who that will be. But we want to thank all of you who are here today. Come on, give yourself a hand clap. Our audience, great show, great guest. We're going to be out of here. The light went out on us. That was time. It's a signal. It's time to go. It's getting dark. But listen, before we go, I want to say this. Be kind to yourself and be kind to others. Why?
Because you reap what you sow.
All right, we're going to try that one more time because there are some people who come in late and you didn't rehearse this. We rehearsed this earlier for our audience. So be kind to yourself and be kind to others. Why?
Because you reap what you sow.
Y'all, we'll see you next time here at the Fryar Place where the conversations are fire. Peace. Go Birds.